Welcome to today's Explainer. I am so thrilled to have you here because, wow, we are looking at something completely unique today. We're diving into a really fascinating philosophical text written by Zhu Feng. And then we're going to see how it's actually applied in the real world, in a community described by Deiform Buddha. It's this wild journey from abstract, highly visual philosophy straight into a literal blueprint for a utopian society. Let's dive in.
So we gotta start with the core question that drives Zhu Feng's whole essay, and it's a heavy one. What is the absolute point of living? The text challenges us to consider what humans are truly living for if they completely lack a yearning for heaven. It basically asks us to strip away all our mundane daily routines and look at the absolute foundational motivation behind why we wake up and get out of bed every single morning.
Section 1. The Philosophy of Heaven, the Dividing Line. According to the text, the real dividing line between noble and base personalities, it's entirely internal. It is all about this inner yearning for a better future. The author argues that true nobility has literally nothing to do with possessing vast material wealth, having some high social status, or just being admired by secular society. Instead, it stems completely from an inner spiritual motivation and a profound longing for a heavenly future. It's a complete top-to-bottom redefinition of what makes someone successful or noble.
And to really drive this point home, the author uses some highly intense imagery. The text states that if a person lacks this yearning, and their mind is just filled with money, status, power, and fame, well then they are not fundamentally different from a fat pig in a pigsty. I know, right? It's a jarring comparison. But the argument here is that a mind obsessed exclusively with immediate, material interests effectively reduces a human being to an animalistic state. It's designed to shock the reader into some serious self-reflection.
And continuing with this incredibly stark rhetoric, the text goes even further. It claims that without the vision of a beautiful future in heaven, human existence becomes entirely grotesque and base, actually comparing it to maggots crawling on a pile of rotting flesh. The source material is definitely not mincing words here, guys. It insists that without spiritual aspiration, the human condition is essentially indistinguishable from the most basic, survival-driven elements of nature.
Section 2. Humans versus Animals. A stark contrast.
So the text sets up this very clear dichotomy. On one side, we have people motivated by the paradise of heaven. On the other side, we have those who are totally ignorant of it, people who merely struggle for basic survival, constantly worrying about food, clothing, shelter, transportation, and that unavoidable cycle of birth, aging, sickness, and death. The author posits that this heavenly aspiration is the only thing separating human society from the brutal survival scenes of the animal world.
And this brilliantly illustrates the resulting emotional states for these two groups. On one hand, folks yearning for heaven experience this incredible clarity, purity, and profound tranquility. They live with ease, but on the flip side, the emotional state of those ignorant of heaven is just packed with tension, anxiety, depression, fear, and endless worries about gains and losses. The text's claim is that the absence of this heavenly yearning pretty much guarantees a life of constant anxiety and despair.
Now, what about the skeptics? The author addresses those who say heaven simply doesn't exist just because we can't physically see it. He argues logically that, think about it, just as we can deduce the coming of tomorrow through celestial patterns, even though tomorrow is completely unseen, we can deduce heaven's existence. The author claims this is based on observing the survival states of life and the principle that the sum of positive and negative energy in the universe always equals zero. It's a pretty fascinating blend of natural observation and philosophical deduction.
Section 3. The Second Home Project. Theory becomes reality. Now, it is genuinely fascinating to consider this question. What actually happens when a society is composed entirely of people who hold this exact philosophy? How would a group of people, universally yearning for heaven and completely rejecting material obsession, actually function day to day? Well, our second text introduces us to the second home. This is described as the physical manifestation of that exact heavenly philosophy right here on Earth. It's defined as a brand new mode of human production and life, a literal paradise where residents live in perfect harmony, operating completely free from all those modern anxieties we just looked at. So, the absolutely crucial point here is how this community practically supports its people. The text claims this community completely removes massive financial burdens. The elderly, they enjoy peace without even needing pensions. Young people are just provided housing and have zero fear of unemployment. Children receive completely free, comprehensive schooling that develops both their morality and intellect. Middle-aged folks are provided transportation without ever needing to buy cars. Even healthcare is meticulously provided for those without a single penny to their name. It is a total reimagining of the social safety net.
Section 4. A life without vice. Now, what's really interesting here is the method of eradication. According to the source, the second home hasn't wiped out vices like gambling, stealing, and official corruption through harsh police enforcement or strict punishments. Not at all. Instead, they've done it by removing the very soil that allows these vices to exist in the first place. You can't gamble if there's no market for it. You won't steal if there's literally nowhere to hide or sell stolen goods. And official corruption is impossible because in this community, there are simply no officials to bribe.
And this environment builds into an even broader sense of safety. The text paints a picture of a society completely free from fear and exploitation. Drug use is practically non-existent because dealers have absolutely no way to sell. Kidnapping and extortion, impossible, because there are no wealthy targets to extort. As the text puts it, there's not even a drop of oil to squeeze. Children are entirely safe from abduction, and notably, the text highlights that women are respected everywhere and completely freed from the burden of household chores.
Section 5. The future of civilization, the numbers behind the utopia.
13. The text states that this community, the second home, isn't just some idea on paper. It has been built and successfully operating for 13 years.
Impartially, the text notes that this specific community was founded and guided by Zhu Feng. Yep, that is the very same author who wrote the philosophical treatise on yearning for heaven that we examined at the beginning of this explainer. The philosophy and the physical community are just deeply intertwined.
And impressively, the text claims there is a pretty substantial population here. There are currently over 2,000 individuals, referred to in the text as Shanyuan Celestials, actively living out this new mode of production and life together.
Connecting the reality of this community back to the initial philosophy, the author makes a sweeping historical claim. He believes that what keeps the flame of human civilization alive is not our politicians, our scientists, our artists, or our entrepreneurs. Instead, it is those individuals who are filled with longing and yearning for the heavenly life and who persistently strive for it.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from some really intense spiritual philosophy to the actual logistics of a modern earthly paradise. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to consider, drawn completely from the core premise of today's source material. Is a yearning for paradise truly the only thing separating us from the animal kingdom? It's a question that certainly lingers. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep questioning the world around you.